What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the third official mixtape by Gudda Gudda. Basically, this project is called Guddaville 3 and it came out in the fall of 2012. The thing about this particular project is Gudda Gudda blew up in like the early 2010s with hit projects like Guddaville from late 2009 and Back to Guddaville from the spring of 2010. Those were kind of a big deal around that particular time. Young Money was kind of a big deal in the early 2010s with songs like Bedrock and Roger That and Every Girl in the World and some of those type pitches. Lil Wayne was huge around that time with the Carter 4 and Rebirth, some of those type pitches. But Gudda Gudda was seen as like Lil Wayne's wingman a lot of times as far as that pitch kind of went. But basically after Back to Guddaville in the spring of 2010, he kind of vanished for a bit. He didn't surprisingly put anything else out in late 2010 or 2011 at all as far as that pitch can happen. For the vast majority of 2012, he didn't put out anything either. So it's kind of an interesting pitch to kind of get some of that. A lot had kind of changed with mixtape type fare around that particular time. Folks like Drake and Kendrick Lamar really started to blow up big time as far as that pitch kind of went. Lil Wayne kind of phased somewhat more into this. Lil Wayne somewhat phased more into like the background after like the Carter 4 and a little bit of like his 2012 mixtape dedication for as far as those pitches kind of happened. It was more Drake, Kendrick, folks like Big Sean, Juicy J, some of those type folks as far as that particular kind of went. So like the mixtape type fare of 2009 and 2010 was starting to change a little bit. I mean, this is a pretty good pitch. I would have to say this might be Gudda Gudda's best album. Now there was a Gudda Gudda album I reviewed with Lil Flip that was an actual album that I gave like a 10 out of 10, but in terms of like Guddaville's best product of his solo type stuff, I would have to say this might be the best one. I remember giving like Guddaville like an 8.75 or like an 8.5 out of 10, something within that relative pitch, and then Back to Guddaville, I don't remember what I gave that one back in early 2022, but it got like a relatively good score. But this one definitely has more fury. Now, it's not Guddaville in like his full prime years as far as that pitch can happen, but he is pretty quality on here. This is a more exacting type rendition. This would probably be like Guddaville's Eminem show as far as that pitch can goes. He's definitely more comfortable on this particular product, but the ferocity of like Guddaville 1 and 2, just the aspect behind it is just a little bit different. I feel like it's just more comfortable. I would say it's hungry in terms of the lyricism, but just the bite of like the fury of some of those earlier type projects is just not on here as much. Lil Wayne is not on here as many times as he was on Back to Guddaville, which is kind of a disappointment. It's kind of the concept that the hype and furor behind Young Money back in the early 2010s, it started to die down a little bit. Nicki Minaj was still vastly popular, and so was Drake, but it was just kind of the concept that the rest of Young Money kind of somewhat phased out, but still pretty good pitch. This is going to get a pretty rave score. It's damn near just right on the cusp. If I disliked even a half song more than I liked on this particular one, it would probably get like a 10 out of 10. I'd have to say it's just the particular concept about it. There's 20 songs on here. Now those 20, I wound up recommending 16. So that's definitely a pretty good pitch about it. I should be able to show you the score about this. Now the only problem with it is I don't know if there were any singles released from this particular project. So that's kind of the concept. But there was decent. I mean, it was just kind of more low-key than what it probably should have been full-blown, I'd have to say, but still a relatively good concept to say that this is definitely a Pack to the Gills mixtape. And for folks that were kind of starting to forget about mixtapes heading into 2013, some of those type pitches, this is definitely one that has some of that exacting kind of appeal, and it's just this is definitely one that you don't want to ignore, I'd have to say. Now, because there's so many quality songs on here, I'm not going to list all 16 of these songs one by one, kind of similar to like how I did with the Casino review, that Futures affiliate Casino. I'm just going to go ahead and pick out some of the real sheer kind of stand out, some of those type pitches. But basically talk about these songs. The only real 4 songs I don't recommend in some fashion would just be the Guddaville intro, the Guddaville outro, which is just a Guddaville freestyle. That's song number 20. Picture Me Rolling and Picture Me Rolling in the Vent Part 2. So talk about some of these, just a few of these on here. The Vent Part 2 and Guddaville 3, the intro, just some soulful type ones, trying to take it back to like the Don Cannon and DJ Drama type mixtape type fare of like the mid 2000s. Just didn't really pull out the vibes nearly as well as they needed to. It was just kind of some clumsy type pitches. Gudda Gudda was somewhat a part of that movement in like the late 2000s. He came up like maybe a year or two later than that relative pitches to how that happened. It was still a pretty good concept to at least see it attempted, but it just didn't really pull out the vibe in terms of like compelling enough to be a song I'd recommend. Picture Me Rolling was kind of a more personable type song, which is a good enough pitch, but the production fare on this particular one just didn't really stand up to like the edginess that it needed. I definitely feel like Tupac's Picture Me Rolling just nailed that particular vibe a little bit better. If it had just some more sharpened production on there, I probably would have appreciated the lyrics on that particular song a lot more. It's just a more storytelling type song. And then the Guddaville freestyle, I do like the concept that Gudda Gudda can freestyle and pitches like that, but it just did not have an interesting enough production. Probably would have chosen like a song like 100 on It. That's a song. 100 on It with Tyga is like a song that sounds like it was something that Waka Flocka did back in 2011, some of those type pitches. I can't remember the exact name of the song that was, but I think the Guddaville freestyle, this is a different one. Guddaville freestyle is not the same as 100 on It, but it's just the concept. It probably needed a production like 100 on It or something like that to kind of freestyle to. It just didn't really It was trying to be like a more kind of typical mixtape trap type fare, but this did not really come off as really an edgy type one enough to freestyle to or really have the interest of some of those type pitches. That one just didn't work. But yeah, basically every other song on here worked extremely well. So 16 out of 20 is really nothing to really sneeze at or really make box about as far as that particularly going to happen. So this score I'm going to give this mixtape is a 9.5 out of 10. Just pretty much, I don't remember how many times I've given a Gudda Gudda project that high of a score apart from like the Lil Flip album that I recently reviewed. Not to say that he doesn't have the ability to do it, but I think this is probably one of his best albums, I'd say. Just really inspired, surprisingly, despite the fact that mixtapes were starting to die down a bit. I'm going to talk about there's like 7 songs or so on here that are like some sheer highlights that I really feel like full-blown needing to recommend, so I'm going to talk about some of these. One of which would be Bang Bang. There's a couple 2 Chainz songs on here. Gudda Gudda and 2 Chainz had done songs in the past. There's a song off of Guddaville 1, which is called Getting to the Money, which was 2 Chainz back when he was still known as Titty Boy. That's a really excellent song. I recommend checking that one out if you don't know about it already. But Gudda Gudda fucked with 2 Chainz later on. It makes sense just because he fucked with him before he blew up on like a national level in 2012 as far as that pitch can happen. So 2 Chainz returned the favor by fucking with some of these songs that he put on his mixtape in 2012. So 2 Chainz is on here twice. On I'm Gudda, he's on the hook. On Bang Bang, he drops a verse. But Bang Bang's a real nice one. This feels like a vintage kind of Young Money like Boiler. I'd have to say in particular something that was produced by like T Streets or one of those type folks. It's like a crisp kind of mixtape club hitter, I would definitely have to say, and this is just some good demon time fun, I'd have to say. So it's a good enough concept. Great song to hear 2 Chainz and Gudda Gudda rap to. Just an excellent type pitch to kind of get here. Real nice bite of a song with some snarl about it. Hustle All Day is probably one of the best songs on this particular tape. Definitely feel that way about this one. Like I was saying, this is one of the tape's best. I would have to say it's like a brooding and kind of grim trap snarl that this song particularly kind of has, and this is just like a menacing. This song is like some menacingly good thrills. I'd have to say about that. I like the fact that Kevin Gates is on the song. I didn't realize that he was around as far back as like 2012. It seemed like he was a product of like the early 2010s. This wasn't as full blown sure, but it's definitely an early hit song for Kevin Gates and folks like that. I'd say real nice. This brooding type beat. I do like the fact that Gudda Gudda tried some brooding type ones on here, just some real dark and morose type ones. 2 examples of that would be Hustle All Day, and then there's another one, As the World Turns, which is a pretty highlighted type one. Hustle All Day is just a great song to rap to, just overall with the deep and dark production type fare of that particular one. Excellent type one to kind of get with some sheerness. As the World Turns with Lil Wayne and Mac Main's another excellent type one. This is another dark one. I'd have to say this is like a morose and sullen kind of alternative rap type hit. I'd have to say it's like the same Lil Wayne type pitch. He has the auto tune on here, kind of similar to stuff he did on Rebirth and Dedication 3, some of those type pitches, and Birdman's Priceless. Real nice shrillness about that particular one. Just takes it back to Lil Wayne Hot Topic type vibes. Hot Topic the Store as far as that pitch kind of goes. It's like an alternative hit, like I was saying. It's like a super and haunting. The song has like a super and haunting kind of Lil Wayne chorus, I'd have to say in particular. So it's a pretty excellent type fare to kind of get here. Really appreciate the spark of this particular one. It's real morose type one. Really appreciate the overall vibes of it. Gudda Gudda really tears this song apart. Mac Main's pretty good example to be on the song as well. Like Lil Wayne chorus, it takes it back to like 2009, 2010 as far as those pitches gonna happen. I Know is a pretty nice one. This is a real good pitch to kind of get this one. This is a song for the ladies. It's like a buttery kind of mixtape ladies groove of a song, I'd say in particular. This song has like a plush feel, and it's like a good day stretcher, I would definitely feel like, and this just has some emphatic kind of ambience. This is just kind of one of those larger day type fares. It's a real emphatic type one that just feels like an overall just good day. Just a very breezy kind of get some smokage in your system, but hang out with the ladies type fare. Just a real emphatic type day to really get in particular. Just an overall, this pretty crisp kind of mood, and this pitch is like that. Just overall ambient and this vibey kind of day, I'd have to say. Right Here is another song for the ladies that works pretty damn well, I'd have to say. It's like a fusion of like night venue activity with like ladies in mind, I would definitely have to suppose. And this would be like a Bay's kind of taste of outings as far as that pitch goes. If you're bringing a girl with you out and about, I'd have to say it's a good concept, just bringing Bay along as far as that pitch goes. With going out to nightlife, getting some beers, pitches like that, just heading out to a nightclub and just stunting together, some pitches like that. Just some good stunt songs kind of have with like ladies in mind. It's a good concept. Real nice one. Every Day I Do It's a pretty boppish type one. This is like a vintage kind of early 2010s mixtape edge of a song, I'd have to say in particular. It's like a stock kind of Gudda Gudda hit, I would definitely have to say, and this is like some vanilla kind of venue noise, I'd have to say. So it's like a typical kind of mixtape type fare out of 2010, 2011. The thing about this particular product is it does take it back to like 2010, 2011. It has some of that nostalgia kind of in mind, despite the fact that it was within the dying months of 2012 and things had kind of shifted a bit. Mixtape type fare. I'm glad that some of these reminiscent type tunes, I mean, it does it in such a fashion where it's not necessarily a being nostalgic for things that have kind of ended. It's this kind of concept of more just a refresher and kind of a reminder some of the times to kind of say that mixtapes are kind of still alive and kicking as far as that pitching goes. Just some good concepts to get back towards some of that. I mean, some folks might notice the old tinge kind of feel about it, or at least a couple years old from that particular time. It's just a good concept to kind of get to some of that, considering that Gudda Gudda had not been around since early 2010, coming back in late 2012, so it's a good concept. And then I'm Gudda is a pretty nice one. This is like another basic mixtape trap turn up, I would have to say. In particular, it's like good for like a vanilla night out, I would have to say. It's like a good one to fraternize, get some drink and pitches like that, and just kind of vibe. This one's produced by Southside and Lex Luger, so it's a pretty good pitch to kind of get some of that in particular. Just a real nice one, typical kind of mixtape type fare. There are some ones on there that kind of do that. Another one like that is kind of Red Rum. That's another kind of typical kind of trap turn ups and pitches like that. Just would have to say. Those are some of the sheer highlights that I would definitely recommend going for quite a bit. Just some typical kind of turn ups and good ladies trap type songs and good turn up type songs and pitches like that. Just some good excellent type concepts. So like some social outings just within a night owl type activity as far as that pitching goes. Just Gudda Gudda back on his stunt type vibes as far as that particular kind of happens with it. There's some smoking songs on here I would definitely have to say. It's a good concept to get some of these smoking type songs. I feel like there's more than a few on here. Some 3 smoking songs I would list would be Drink and Smoke with Wiz Khalifa, which is a real heavy type. That one's more of a smoke type song. I'd have to say definitely high as hell. This definitely multiple swishers pitches like that. I'd have to say Stupid's a pretty distorted type one. That's definitely a warp type one that just feels like a head trip of one, and then whatever you do is like another real smokish type one to kind of get. All of these smoking type songs are just blistering type ones to really have like some good head trip and just overall pounding type vibes to kind of get. So that's some good concepts. Definitely a good smokers package to kind of have if you think that the mixtapes have kind of dried up within that fashion. They hadn't. There's a series of stunt type songs on here. It's a pretty good concept. It's not necessarily that Gudda Gudda did not necessarily do 2010s type trap like folks like Future and Travis Scott and some of those type folks. Gucci Mane and Migos were kind of doing around that particular time, 2013 or late 2012. Mid 2013 as far as that pitch kind of happens. But there's some vintage kind of drill rap, Lex Luger type rap pitches like that. Waka Flocka, Yo Gotti, some of those type folks is 2010, 2011, like some stunt type songs, which is a pretty good pitch. I mean, this album is kind of somewhat trendy, but not as trendy as like Travis Scott and Future were kind of around that time in late 2012, but it's still a relatively good product of just like a taste of after yesteryear kind of trap music in terms of mixtape fare. A series of stunt songs would be New Orleans, Money Keep Calling, and 100 on it. Particularly 100 on it. It's just a real stock and vintage kind of drill era type trap beat to kind of get Tyga's on this particular song. But this just feels like a Waka Flocka song. I don't remember the exact name of it, but it felt like a revision of like a song that had already happened. I don't remember what it was in particular. It might have been Slim Dunk. It might have been Waka Flocka. It was a song that was just probably made in like 2011 or 2010. New Orleans and Money Keep Calling or some other type songs are just for some heavy stunt type vibes. This vehicle centric type stuff and flash stunting looking flashy pitches like that, just looking snazzy, going out and having a good time, just having a grin on your face and just really enjoying things as far as that particular kind of happens. There is a song that would have almost been like a stunt type song. I would say Red Rum is a relatively good one, but this one has somewhat of a grading production. I'd probably say that the production fare on Red Rum might be like a 7.5, 7.75, 8 out of 10 in terms of like its catchiness. It's a little bit, the beat loop on this particular song is not as full-blown snarlingly good as the rest of this project, but it's still good enough to recommend. I'm not going to make it an almost song, but it is a pretty sheer type one, just within a relative pitch of the production fare. That one doesn't get too annoying, but it is a pretty nice club hitter. Enemies is a nice smoking song just for night traverse locally as far as that pitching goes. Is Taco Bell runs, gas station runs, some pitches like that. Just getting like Jack Daniels, some of those type things. There's another ladies song on here. There's a series of ladies songs on here like Right Here, Ride for Me, and I Know, some of those type ones, but Ride For Me is another type one that just has like some smooth type vocals on just pitches like that. It's a real nice one to kind of get. Another nice combination to kind of have with Right Here, some of those type ones. So that's just the combination about this particular album. There's a lot of good pitches on this particular project. There's a lot of good combinations of pitches on this particular project. So I'd have to say 9.5 out of 10 in terms of the score. The social score I'm probably going to give, that's kind of tricky. I think I'll give the social score like of this project. I think I'll give the social score of this project like a 9.75 out of 10. I would almost give it a 10 out of 10, but I just don't know if there was like a single off this particular product. It's a little bit subdued, more so than normal. It felt like Gudda Gudda had more ferocity in like his earlier Guddaville mixtapes as far as that pitch can happen. Lil Wayne is not on here as many times. He definitely should have been on here a second or even third time as far as that pitch kind of went. No Nicki Minaj, no Drake, no other Young Money members apart from like a minor Tyga cameo and pitches like that. So, and one minor Mac Main cameo. I'd have to say Mac Main probably should have been on here. Mac Main probably should have been on here another time. Definitely like the nightclub outing type sense. It's definitely like a good taste of night owl life and pitches like that. I'd have to say some good concepts. Do you like some of these trap centric lady songs for like mixtape type fare? It's pretty good concept. Get some of these. Do you like these kind of blistering and heavy pounding type smoking songs? So really all this particular mixtape needed just to be like a classic full blown in terms of casual and kind of social appeal. Is just like a single or something like that. And if there are music videos and I just don't know about them, some pitches like that, I'd have to say then yeah, this mixtape would get a 10 out of 10 within the casual score because this is affable. It's the concept. I mean, Gudda Gudda was Lil Wayne's wingman. He's pretty good at freestyling pitches like that. He has some good concepts to be able to do it. He's a mixtape rapper that was around in those particular times and did a pretty good job with it. Had some affable type tunes and just had that southern rap that just has a lot of appeal. It's like a good cousin, an alternative to Lil Wayne type stuff, just because Lil Wayne did not really drop original material in 2012 apart from the dedication for mixtape, which was more freestyles to other beats. That's this kind of thing, but good enough concept. So in terms of the future, like Gudda Gudda has not dropped projects since 2021, which apparently he dropped 2 mixtapes in that particular year. So I still have some more stuff to get to. After this, I'm going to review Red Rum from 2013. And then I really only have like 3 more Gudda Gudda projects to get to. So just Red Rum. So I basically just have Red Rum and then his 2 2021 mixtapes as far as that pitch can have with it. So that's good enough there to kind of get. Do recommend this mixtape quite a bit. I would have to say this is a highly inspired Gudda Gudda and one of his definite best. So it's just a mixtape type fare that takes it back to early 2010s type fare, despite the fact that mixtapes are starting to die down a bit, and it's an easy enough one to recommend. It's definitely an overlooked type one that deserves a lot more praise and notoriety and recognition.